Well, my first memory of Atari was, that would be Donkey Kong.
First memory of Atari is going to my friend's house and playing because I didn't have one.
When I was a kid, I got the Atari system in 1981, and I got it as a Christmas gift, and had to invite all my friends over and play it, and stayed up all night playing decathlon, trying to see who's the best. Of course, those old games didn't keep records on the computer, so we had to write them down, and still have the records to this day. So it came to Christmas of 1981 was my first memory.
Plug it into the back of my TV. Come with me back to 1983. Reliving my happy childhood with my 2600 Atari 2600 Atari 2600. Choose a game from your game library. Test your skill.
In the mid-1970s, an electrical engineer by the name of Nolan Bushnell released the video game system known as Pong. Although primitive by today's video game standards, Pong was revolutionary at the time, allowing Bushnell to create the Atari system.
The first Atari was actually, well, Pong. Atari made an actual Pong unit that only played Pong. Then they came out with the 2600, which is the most popular one that everybody remembers, and that's what's still around and you can find on auctions and everything. Then the 5200 and the 7800, which were just basically more advanced models. That they came out with the 5200 when ColecoVision came out to compete with ColecoVision, and then the 7800 to when Nintendo came out with their original system. And it is basically along those same lines, about the same, tried to match the same quality as that, but the 5200 and the 7800 never really flew because all the games were for the 2600.
In the early 1980s, Atari was the leader in the home video game market. Their success inspired new competition. Some competing systems were even compatible with Atari games.
ColecoVision came out with a Atari adapter. It was a plug-in module that went in the front of the ColecoVision. When ColecoVision came out, they had intentions to have adapters for the Atari 2600, Intellivision.
Basically what we do is we buy and resell, we do mostly furniture, but on the side we do games and Nintendo games and collectibles. And one of the hottest things that's around here is video games, because you got college students in their 20s to 30s that have grown up with that type of stuff. We don't get a whole lot in because people are holding on to them, but we've sold 500 plus, and every one we get in we sell. I mean, even the Combat, the one that went with the system. People are just, anything they can get their hands on. The game system, the 5200 is hot right now. The Atari 5200 is second in the series. Anything with Atari, adapters, people ask for everything. The original boxes, you see them up for sale on eBay, on the internet, just by themselves. The books, anything. Sometimes the instruction manuals are worth more than the actual Atari game. So it's an unbelievable collectible market.
One of the highlights of Atari's success was when they released a home version of the arcade hit Pac-Man.
Pac-Man was one of the games that inspired the big arcade, the big arcade frenzy of the 80s. And then because of that, Buckner and Garcia came up with their album Pac-Man Fever. And then that became kind of like the anthem for the 80s with those songs and everything, got people in the arcades and all that kind of thing. Basically told the stories of the games, and because they were the simpler ones.
But Pitfall, that's up there, was my favorite. Pitfall and Pac-Man, of course, but I think I'm partial to Pitfall. Swinging on the vines over the tar puddles, it was really exciting. It was suspenseful. Will I make it over the tar puddle, or will I plummet into the bottom and die again?
We played all the games. We played the paddle games and the joystick games, just all of them. My favorites probably were, Frogger, Moon Patrol, and Maze Craze were my top 3, I would say.
The Atari, the reason it was so popular is because it had so many games. The graphics weren't the greatest, but you could play. They came out with pretty much all of the arcade games. There were, games with paddles, joysticks. They even had a little keypad for a couple different games, and they were easy.
Atari was like the original, and everyone likes the original. It's like your first bike. You always like your first bike. And compared to the stuff they have out now, I can't figure out. They have 50 different buttons on joysticks and stuff like that. I can't figure out how to play the damn things. Atari is just like one button, man. It's so easy. That's why I like it so much.
I think that what makes Atari so attractive and fun for us is the simplicity. It takes, the newer games are all these actions and all these neat graphics, which is great, but when it comes right down to it, the funnest games are the most simplest games.
There's a TV commercial for Sci-Fi Channel where Lara Croft from Tomb Raider is playing Pong. She loses Pong and kicks over the game, or the TV set. So, even one of the more complicated games like Tomb Raider is shown playing the simplicity of Pong and losing.
Atari, Atari 2600. Atari, Atari 2600. Atari 2600. Atari 2600. No, it don't get any better than the system that gave us Pac-Man and Space Invaders.
That's what makes Atari so great. It's where our roots came from, the video game era.